Welcome to another episode of Woman Witness Podcast, The Stories at the Well. I'm your host, Leah Fortier. Today, I have a very special topic and a very special guest today who will be bringing to us a topic that many of us women can definitely relate to. I am bringing to you today Stephanie Sterling, and she's going to be talking about fatherless trauma. So without further ado, let me introduce my guest today. Hey, Stephanie, welcome to the Well.
Hi, thank you for having me.
Thank you so much for being here, Stephanie. Stephanie, I know that you specialize, and I went through all of your information, and I know you specialize in helping women heal as a whole and being able to exist in a world where they perhaps may have battled a fatherless trauma. So without further ado, and before we delve right in, I want you to introduce yourself. Tell us a little bit about who you are.
So I'm originally born and raised Greenville, South Carolina. I grew up with my mom, my two brothers. I have an older brother and a younger brother. My oldest brother is 8 years older. My younger brother is 6 years younger. So I'm the only girl. So I've always been different. I always been, I'm the middle child, as they say. So, I've always been very independent, headstrong, very smart, was always about my books. I remember my oldest brother would be like, "Who studies on a Saturday?" I'm like, me? So, I had a great childhood, I have no complaints except the fatherlessness. But I had a great childhood. I would go and visit my auntie, my mom's baby sister, my cousins during the summer, weekends, things like that. So, my mom she definitely did her best.
Yeah.
And so I grew up I could just dance literally like from the time I could walk. I just had a natural thing. And so, but in school I did dance and I also did step team. And I just have a passion for music and dance. That's just one of the things I love.
Yes, I love that so much, Stephanie. And I don't know if you know this, but I will tell you, I'm not afraid to admit that, me and dancing, we just don't get along. But so I love the fact that you are a dancer. I love the fact that you are into dancing. So I want you to tell us a little bit about yourself. Explain to us what this fatherless trauma, where it stemmed from, and how does it affect us in our adult lives?
So, initially, I think people didn't realize that being motherless or fatherless was even a trauma. And so over the years, they have recently, they have data now. They have data linked to physical, emotional, how well we do in life, our well-being, all those things, because that plays a major part in our lives. And so just like rape or molestation or abuse, fatherlessness is a real thing. The stats are out there. There are 15 million people in the United States who grew up in a single parent home without a father. And so it's real and the trauma is real. And so initially everything started with my book, Fatherless Success. And a few years ago, I had the title, but that's all I had. But God knew I wasn't in the place at that time to write it.
Yeah.
So let's fast forward to 3 years ago, because I'm coming up on the 3-year anniversary of my book. He was like, okay, it's time. It's time. I sat down, pulled out my laptop, started typing, and as I'm typing, tears are rolling down my face.
Mm-hmm.
And it wasn't from my lack of healing. It was just that through your journey, you just heal differently. And so for me, I'm more of a loner. I would like to call myself a loner because I don't do cliques. I don't do groups. I've never been that person. I don't use the word friend loosely. I don't have many friends. So the very few friends I do have, I tend to cherish those people.
Yeah. Mm,
And so for me, I have just always been my own person, do my own thing.
yeah.
First of all, I love my own company. I don't need nobody around me on a daily basis, just me and God. As long as I got God, everybody else is just a bonus that adds to my
Yeah.
life,
Yes.
So, I'm sitting there writing the book and I'm crying, like tears rolling down my face. I'm like, hold up.
What's
I
going
done already dealt with this stuff. Why am I feeling
Yeah,
this way? I believe what it was me, because I've always been, if you're not in my circle, you
right,
don't need to know my business type
right.
person. This was me preparing to be vulnerable to the world, which was a huge thing.
Yep.
So huge, because this wasn't about me and it's still not about me. It's about me telling my story so other people can know they're not alone and to be able to inspire them and to give them the healing tools they need to help them on their journey.
Yes. Yes, Stephanie, that is so true. That is so true. And I love the fact that when you brought that up, as far as you telling your story to be a witness to others, that they too can heal, they too can get past this trauma. But first, you have to recognize it. And that's what you did in your book that I want to definitely dig a little bit deeper into. So I want you to talk to some of us about some of the common challenges that we as women face when healing from that fatherless trauma.
So one of the biggest things is going to be for me was abandonment issues and having a problem with people being inconsistent. I'm going to start with those two things because those were big for me. Abandonment issues and inconsistencies. So, when I started dating, literally my grandmother would be like, you change boyfriends like you change drawers. And if that was just because I had no tolerance, like I had no grace for people because I felt like, my father, he would say he coming to pick us up or saying he coming, then he wouldn't.
Yeah,
And so that thing just stuck in my head. And so when I got into the dating world, it was like, if you're not going to do what you say you're going to do, if
check.
you're going to do something I don't like, delete, block, move on with my life. I don't have time. If you
Mm.
sneeze the wrong way, I don't have time for you. if you chew the wrong way, I don't have. That's literally what it was. It was just I didn't give people chance. It was like you do one thing, I'm good.
Mm.
And so
Yeah.
the inconsistency is even today. That's a big thing for me. But in my journey and growing with God and becoming more graceful, I'm more understanding and allow people to explain themselves.
Mm.
Now, once you explain yourself, if it still don't sit right in my spirit, then I'm just going to move on. You know
Mm.
what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And so also let's go to the abandonment issue. So the last serious relationship I had was 7 years ago
Mm.
and
Mm.
we were together almost 5 years.
Mm.
And so during that time, I decided like, hey, I'm always cutting people off. Let me give somebody a chance.
Right.
And so even there was like something he did, and I'm like, okay, I want it to be different, right? And so
Right.
I'm like, well, maybe he'll change. That's why I kept telling myself, maybe he'll change. Maybe he's going through something. And so I kept putting up with all this crap I had no business putting up with.
Mm. Mm. Mm.
And that caused even more damage.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And so with the abandonment issues, we will hold on to relationships that have expired when we need to let them go because we don't want to feel like somebody else is leaving us.
Yeah. Oh, that's so good, Stephanie. That is so good because I can definitely relate. And I know a lot of women out there who are listening can relate too. There are certain patterns, even in my own life, that I really didn't realize it stemmed from my childhood. And it wasn't until I faced that trauma that I dealt with to say, you know what? Wow, some of these things are really real that are showing up in my adult life. And, one thing I will say about when you said, you had to learn to have grace for people. and we could spend all day there. Okay, one, uh but there is a certain time where, you know what, I've extended far too much grace, and now I'm compromising who I am. And I hear you saying that's when you were like, mm-mm, I'm now going back to where I used to be, back to my childhood, back into that trauma. So can you talk to us about that a little bit deeper? Can you talk to us about when do we get to a point when we realize, hold on, I can't keep extending this grace? Talk to me about that.
So first I'm going to say typically we're trying to fill a void. Now
Mm,
everybody does that differently. For me, I was hyper focused on my schoolwork, making good grades,
mm,
graduating high school, going to college. That was my hyper focus. Doing things right or being a perfectionist, as one would say. That
yeah.
was my hyper focus. And so what happens is you're trying to fill a void. So me filling the void was being hyper focused on being successful at school, right?
I love it.
Because
Yeah.
that's where I was, school, high school, college, those types of things. Some people fill that void through addictions. That's why people have addictions, through sex, through other toxic behaviors. And so luckily, God protected me, so I did not go that route, but we're filling a void. But what I learned along the way, that void I was trying to fill, whatever it was, extending this grace to my ex far beyond what I needed to, was that void was God. I needed to build a relationship with God. Everything I needed was already in me, and I didn't even realize it because of my brokenness and my trauma. And so I remember even as a little child, as I'm, telling my stories when I wrote the book and all of these things, even doing interviews or when I have time to just self reflect, I think about different things. Why did this affect me this way? Why am I bothered by this? Why did this person say or do this? Why did it bother me? And
Mm,
so I remember even when I was young, so my parents were together up until I was 11.
okay.
But even then, my father wasn't very present. My
Mm,
mom was still the one in charge. He would disappear for days, things
mm,
like that.
mm-hmm,
And
mm-hmm.
so, but you'll find out more once you read the book. You got to read the
Yes.
book for that. And so he would disappear. There were times where we were supposed to go outside and play. He'd be like, "Oh, I'm taking out the trash. I'll be right back." Stand on the porch. And he drops the trash off, and then he's just gone. He doesn't come back. And
Mm,
I'm left standing on the porch crying and things like
mm,
that. And so as
mm,
a child, you don't really understand it. Even as you get older, you don't think about it. But
yeah.
once you acknowledge that you have a problem, right, you have to start analyzing those emotions and figuring out where did this come from.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it started at a young age. Somebody tell me they were going to do something and didn't. Somebody left me, which
Mm,
caused abandonment issues. That,
right.
I didn't have that bond with my father. And even, as I got older in high school and college, I still,
Mhm,
tried to stay connected with the family on that side. I still tried to reach out him and build a relationship with him. But
mhm.
there was very little effort on his part. So I just stopped. I stopped
Yeah,
dealing with him. I stopped dealing with them because I'm such an initiator. That's just my nature.
that's good.
I'm
Yeah.
one of them people. I jump in. I'm like, oh, this need to be done. And
Yeah.
because I done had people in the workplace like, you so bossy. This needs to be done.
Very
I know how
true.
to do it. Come
Yeah.
on, it's time to delegate. Let's get
Yeah.
this done. That's just me.
Exactly. I love that.
So that's just where it stems from. And I own it. Okay, if you want to call it bossy, I call it leadership.
That's what I
I
call
know
it.
right.
That's what I
I know
call
it needs to be good done. I know my strengths. I know where your strengths are. And can you please do this? And thank you. Have a good day.
it. Have a We all win in the end.
Exactly. And so a lot of that, but like I said, despite that, I had such a great childhood.
Yeah.
I really did. But he was never that present. But it's still this void, like this yearning that you have, like, oh, I wish I had my father. And it probably wasn't until I actually released my book that was able to release that hole, that yearning for him.
Yeah.
And then I was like, everything I need, I have in God. So
Yeah.
it's okay that I didn't have him because he didn't have the capacity to be who I needed him to be for me. And
Yeah.
I'm okay with that now.
You're okay with that. Wow. That is so good, Stephanie. And you said so much. You have on your page, you have a journey of wholeness from living from fatherless.
Right. Wholeness beyond a father's absence.
Yes. Can you talk to us and give us those steps? I recently seen one that you just posted about uh, forgiveness. So I want to talk to you about that because forgiveness is hard. So tell us first, who do we need to forgive? How do we forgive? How do we identify that we need to forgive? So let me give the floor back to you. Talk to us about that.
So wholeness beyond a father's absence, it's a journey. That's what this is about. It's a healing journey. It's a coping journey. It's a journey to self-awareness and self-love.
Yeah.
That's what it encompasses all of that. And so what does that look like for each person? That's going to be different, right? But
Right.
the thing about it is forgiveness is so important. But in order to do that, step one, you have to acknowledge
Yeah.
that you have even gone through anything. There are so many people walking around in denial right now,
Amen.
being
Yeah.
toxic and putting it on other people for no reason.
Yep. Yep. That used to be me. I can tell. I sure did for a long time.
That part is that I'm a first-hand witness.
Yes.
Number two is forgiveness. You cannot even start the healing process until you learn how to forgive people. And it's funny because I've had conversations with people all the time like, if a person do this, I ain't forgiving them. I'm taking that to the grave.
Mm,
And the thing about forgiveness, I cannot tell you how to forgive, but
yeah.
what I'm going to tell you is first you have to acknowledge there's an issue, and then you have to forgive number one yourself,
Yeah.
and then forgive whoever that person was that did something to you.
That part.
Because by you holding that grudge and sitting there, oh, when I see this person, you're allowing this person to disturb your whole mental, your peace. Now you got an attitude when you see this person. You want to be nasty to this person.
Yeah.
They're not even thinking about you. They done moved on with their life. They're really not thinking about you. So
Mm,
forgiveness is ultimately for you, and you have to learn how to forgive without an apology sometimes. You have to know, like, hey, I may never get what I think I deserve from this person.
yeah.
And then you have to learn how to be okay with that. And some steps is number one, building a relationship with God or whoever you have faith with. Number two, finding a therapist to help you along that journey as well. Because you have to learn how to release things. Because when you don't forgive, those people have power and they have a hold over you. Period, point blank.
Yes.
They do. And it's like you're allowing these people to control your life and they've moved on. They don't know that they hurt you or they don't care.
They don't. Amen.
So why are you allowing them to have full control or as somebody told me, live rent free in your head?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
That costs too much.
Yes, yes. Stephanie, that is so good because that's true. It costs too much. It costs you your peace. Anytime I talk about this, I love being a witness. And I always talk about myself because I have lost so much peace. Just, and I love the fact that we're talking about forgiveness because forgiveness to each individual person is different, right? For me, I always wanted confirmation. Just acknowledge. Okay. And once I realized that I wasn't going to get that, I had to find the forgiveness for myself. And I didn't know that once I got that forgiveness for myself, it was all going to come together because that's when I then began to get that relationship with God and that relationship and through the relationship with God, he showed me myself. And then I can really go back and say, man, I forgive myself for not, standing up for myself. I forgive myself for not knowing that I was supposed to do. Because when you accept that point, it's smooth sailing from there. So I couldn't agree with you more. Stephanie, once I forgive myself, then what's my next step?
Now the healing begins.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now
Yeah.
because acknowledging and forgiveness, to me, those are the two hardest parts.
Yep.
And step three is now healing.
Yeah.
Accepting that journey, waking up every day, being intentional, be intentional, be intentional, be intentional every day. Because once you heal, you have to, is what you call maintenance, right? Just like working out. Once you lose that weight that you wanted to lose, now you have to maintain the weight that you want to be. So every day you wake up, you have to make a conscious decision to be intentional and to continue your journey.
Yeah.
Because guess what? There's going to be new experiences, new people who piss you off, new traumas that come. But
Yeah.
the great thing now is now you have the tools. So something that would have been so dramatic to you in the past is not going to be so much in the future. And
Yeah.
I'll give an example like, I'll just say just friendship, right? In the past, I've had long standing friendships. And when those friendships ended, I had to take a lot of time out to heal from those friendships. And so now friendship look different to me. So now I understand that everything is temporary through my journey with God, that everything changes with people. Everything is temporary though. So now when I lose a friend, I'm like, God only had that person in my life for a season. Whatever that reason was that we met, whether me being in that person's life or that person being in my life, that season expired. And so now I'm good. I can acknowledge how I feel. I'm like, oh, I might be disappointed. And I can take a moment with God and reflect on it, but it's easier for me to move on.
I like that. Hold on, Stephanie, do you mind talking to that a little bit? Because I think, as we grow, as we evolve as women, our friendships do change. And I love the fact that you're bringing this up and you're being very vulnerable about it, because I think it's hard for us. And sometimes, I can attest, I have been guilty of going cold turkey friend. I ain't gotta tell you why. I just know that our vibes aren't vibing, and I'll just like I ran and I would run, and it's just something that was repetitive from my childhood. If I didn't want to deal with it, I would run, I would hide, I didn't want to talk about it. So entering into these relationships, and as we, like I said, as we evolve as women, how do we do so without being guarded?
My thing is God.
Mm,
Once I learned that God is my everything, that I have to trust in Him and that He's going to provide, whether it's relationships, resources, whatever I need, that helped me,
yeah,
period,
yeah,
point blank. So I'm like, this person, He put this person in my life for a reason. How long they're going to be here, I don't know, but I'm going to enjoy the moment. And
thank you.
then when they're gone, I just reflect on what it was and I just move on. And
Yeah,
for me, it's just that simple. And it's funny because just yesterday I was having a conversation with somebody about having, I said, I don't know if it's good or bad, but I have detached relationships. And what I mean by that is I can have a conversation with anybody
yeah,
and even the people I consider a friend, right?
mm,
And we're close. But I promise you, if they do something I don't like, or they decide they don't want to be my friend, the way I can detach so fast that sometimes it's scary to me.
that used to be
You
me.
know what I'm saying? And so, but I don't think it's such a bad thing.
Okay.
I think that's where God has taken me because it used to be, it was like, I had a best friend of 15 years and we were tight. We had best friend tattoos. We like this. And we're
Mhm.
no longer, that friendship came to an end.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to say it's on any fault of her or fault of me. We both had a part to play in it. But
Right.
I think it's ultimately God brought us together for that time and said, y'all are growing in different directions and
Mhm.
it's okay. And,
Thank
I'm fine with holding myself accountable for whatever I may have done, because back then, I had a lot of healing to do and
you. Yeah.
that's fine, but that's okay.
Mm. Yeah.
There has to be no bad blood, at least not for me. I can't speak for other people, but I don't
Right.
have any bad blood. Whatever I did that was wrong or that you didn't like, okay, I apologize, but our time is expired, period, point blank. And
Yeah.
so
That's good. Yeah.
it's just easier for me to detach from people in
Hmm.
the space I am now because I know in my head, number one, everything is temporary.
Yeah.
Everything has a season and a reason, and
Mm,
not everybody is for a lifetime.
yeah. That's
So me just accepting that, and ultimately that goes back to my relationship with God and the what I cultivate with Him every day. Being able to accept that helps me, like, and it, and like I said, maybe in my head, I'm like, I don't know if that's good or bad, but I think it is a good thing because
yeah.
everything is temporary.
Yeah, man, it's interesting you're talking about this. I promise you, I was just listening to Wednesday night Bible study at the Potter's house. I wasn't there, I was listening online. And you're in Dallas. And I promise you, this was one of the things that they were talking about is, moving, knowing the season and knowing when to pick up and go and knowing when to, start walking in your purpose. And sometimes not everybody can go with you, and that's okay. And just to top it off, even what you said, just, letting that forgiveness guide you, just taking all that off your shoulder and saying, you know what, I'm going to move forward lightly and knowing that everything happens for a reason. Okay. That was good. I'm glad we talked about the acknowledgement, forgiveness, and healing. I want to thank you so much, one, for your valuable insight and for the information that you are pouring right now here at this well. I want you now. Do you offer any courses? I know you do classes, right?
So yes, I do have an online course that I launched last year. I hadn't been promoting it as much. So I was like, sometimes I get stuck in my head. Let's just be real. But
Yeah.
I do have an online course. It's a 4-week personal development course. All
Okay.
you have to do is book a free strategy call to see if that's going to be a good fit for you. So for the past 2 years, I had a ladies networking event called a Ladies Affair. But
Mm,
this year, I just went quarterly
mm,
because it was just a lot. But that was a space I cultivated for women, not only for us to connect, build, and grow, but
mm.
we touch on different topics. And I have allowed other speakers to come in and speak and
Wow.
just give women the resources that they need. And so also I just do other variety of events. I coordinate a variety of events to
Mhm,
help women. And then of course, if you follow me on my Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, LinkedIn at the authentic Stephanie Sterling, I
mhm.
do videos, weekly videos, just being able to inspire people on their journey and just drop tips for them.
Yeah, I like that. And I love the idea of that personal course, Stephanie, because this healing process is personal. And maybe perhaps you're not ready to sit down with a Stephanie and just pour out everything. So I think even by doing courses is really good. You can sit in your own solitude and do it online and start writing and working through some of that trauma. And as Stephanie said, when she started writing her book, soaking those pages and tears and kind of letting it out until you're ready to say, hey, Stephanie, I need your help. I did your course. Now I need to actually talk to somebody. And, and I love that you're doing that and you have it out there. I love the events that you put on. Let me know when you're doing your next one. Because I think it's important that we get together as women in fellowship and heal from each other.
Correct. And just being able to, like I like to call it, build a sisterhood beyond those four walls. So we come together to connect, but then many people build relationships, whether it's business or friendships,
Yeah.
beyond that. And I love that God has created me to be a vessel in that way.
Yes, I can see that. That's what it's really all about. I love the fact that you just said that because that's one of the things I've been really harping on lately is partnership and friendship. And I love the fact that you say you're a vessel because I love it. That's where you bring women on one stage. There is enough room for everybody. And I love the fact that you are doing that. So please keep doing that. Okay, tell us where to find your books. You already said where to follow you at.
Pretty much everywhere you can find me is the authentic Stephanie Sterling. Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn are my primary. YouTube, I don't use that as much, but any platform. My website is theauthenticstephaniesterling.com. If you follow me on TikTok, it's the authentic SF because it was too long for TikTok. But everything else is the authentic Stephanie Sterling. And also you get my book at theauthenticstephaniesterling.com.
Okay.
If you're on my social media, it has the link in my bio where you can go and purchase the book. You can order a special copy from me where I will sign it for you, or you can go to Amazon. On Amazon, you can get paperback, ebook, or Audible, as
Okay.
well as Barnes and Noble.
Mm-hmm.
You go to Barnes and Noble and get paperback or ebook. And then I do have my book in a local store at the Pan African Bookstore Connection.
Oh,
And my book is there and they're already autographed as well.
not where now. Where
At
is that
the, it's more
at?
like South Dallas.
Okay.
Yeah, the Pan African Connection. So they're a bookstore and art gallery, and they have tons of events. They're all about the Black community, providing resources. They have all kind of stuff. So definitely check them out.
I love that. Yeah, send that to us. We'll put that in the description. So if you're in the Dallas area or you're visiting the Dallas area, check them out and pick up Stephanie's book while you're there. Stephanie, leave our listeners with some words of encouragement, some motivation to carry with them throughout the week.
If you don't love yourself, how can you expect anybody else to? Everything starts with you. Everything comes from within. Everything you need to possess the power, the strength, the courage is within you. So just remember to start with you.
Mm, mm, mm. That is so good. Oh, Stephanie. Okay. Stephanie, I want to thank you so much for coming here and pouring at this well. You really filled us up. And I love the fact, if I could just recap what you just said, it starts with you. It starts with you. The acknowledgement, the forgiveness, and the healing. Did I get them right, Stephanie?
Correct.
And that is
Exactly.
you. That is you. You acknowledge, you forgive, and you start healing because it's about you and your relationship with God, and He will reveal to you who you are. Okay, Stephanie, that was good. That was good. That was so
Thank you.
okay.
Thank you.
Thank
I
you.
appreciate you for having me. Like, this was amazing, Leah. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Stephanie. Thank you for being here. Thank you for saying those kind words. So, ladies, if you were blessed by this episode and you know someone who may be struggling in this area, send them the episode. Send them the episode. We will have Stephanie's information down in the description. If you want to visit her websites, we ask that you follow her on all social media. If you feel that maybe let me grab this course or maybe let me grab this book and see if it can start me on my own personal journey, we ask that you do that because this is what it's all about. It's all about bringing voices of women who need to be heard the most and women who are out here making a positive impact in their lives and in the community around them. I want to thank you all for tuning in to another episode of Woman Witness Podcast, The Stories at the Well. If you think that you have a story that you want to tell, if you think that you know that you've written a book or you impacted your community in a way that you want to share it with someone, please reach out to us at info@womanwitness.com. That's info@womanwitness.com. Until then, perhaps you were chosen for such a time as this to write, to tell your story, your truth. Until next time, bye.